At the Sovereign's Reach, mobile command fortress of the Aurelian Empire, Commander Ethan Drake served as human tactical liaison, coordinating special operations with Aurelian military doctrine. His official role theoretically required regular interaction with Empress Lysandra Starborn's strategic planning sessions. But over 6 months since joint operations began, Ethan had developed a pattern of careful avoidance. He submitted reports through intermediaries, sent junior officers to represent human interests at high-level briefings, scheduled his tactical reviews when the Empress was occupied elsewhere. His avoidance was professional enough not to compromise operations. Intelligence flowed properly. Coordination remained solid. Joint operations succeeded. But it was obvious enough that both human colleagues and Aurelian command staff noticed. The human contingent largely interpreted it as political. Perhaps he was uncomfortable under alien authority, or harbored resentment from pre-alliance conflicts. The Aurelian court assumed cultural incompatibility, that this human found their elaborate protocols distasteful. Nobody guessed the truth. Ethan avoided Empress Lysandra because being in her presence affected him in ways he couldn't professionally acknowledge or personally understand. When she spoke during briefings, he lost track of what he should be analyzing. When she moved through command centers, his attention followed involuntarily. When she looked directly at him, which happened more frequently before he perfected his avoidance, he felt exposed in ways having nothing to do with rank. It wasn't fear. It was something more complicated. Attraction mixed with awe, professional respect tangled with personal fascination, an overwhelming certainty that acknowledging these feelings would compromise everything. So Ethan maintained careful distance, telling himself it was professional, that his role was tactical coordination, not personal connection. This worked until the Battle of Crimson Gates, when surprise assault created chaos. Ethan found himself working directly with Empress Lysandra during the 18-hour crisis, coordinating responses with seamless integration, covering each other's blind spots, trusting instincts without explanation. When the crisis stabilized, Ethan immediately retreated, resuming his avoidance pattern with renewed determination. 2 days after the Battle of Crimson Gates, Ethan received a summons he couldn't deflect. Empress Lysandra requested his presence in her private strategy chambers for tactical review of recent operations. The phrasing suggested official business, but the private setting suggested something else. Ethan arrived with prepared notes about tactical lessons, anything to keep conversation focused on professional matters. Lysandra's private chambers were surprisingly austere, functional military efficiency rather than imperial grandeur. She dismissed the guards, creating privacy that made his anxiety spike. When she spoke, her voice lacked commanding authority. It was more personal, vulnerable. "Why do you avoid me, Commander Drake? For 6 months, you have been one of my most valuable advisors, yet you coordinate almost exclusively through intermediaries. During the recent crisis, you worked beside me with seamless efficiency. Then immediately afterward, you returned to your pattern of careful distance. I would know why." The question was asked without imperial demand, just honest desire to understand. Ethan considered deflecting with professional explanations about respecting hierarchy, maintaining boundaries, not monopolizing her time. But something about how Lysandra asked, personally rather than imperially, vulnerably rather than demandingly, made lying feel worse than truth, even if truth was inappropriate. So Ethan told her honestly, "I avoid you because your presence overwhelms me in ways I can't explain or manage professionally, Your Majesty. When you're in a room, I can't focus on anything except you. During the Battle of Crimson Gates, working beside you was the most effective professional partnership I've ever experienced, and also the most emotionally overwhelming. I avoid you because the alternative, being near you regularly while trying to maintain professional distance, seems impossible." The confession hung in the chamber's quiet. Ethan braced for dismissal, for formal complaint about inappropriate conduct. Instead, Empress Lysandra was silent for moments that felt eternal, her expression shifting through emotions he couldn't read. When she finally spoke, her voice carried vulnerability he'd never heard from her. "You avoid me because my presence overwhelms you, because working beside me was emotionally too much to sustain." She paused, something almost like pain crossing her features. "Ethan, I have ruled an empire for over 2 centuries. In that time, thousands have approached me with political calculation, military formality, or fearful respect. Do you know what no one has ever told me? That my presence affects them personally, that working beside me feels emotionally significant." She stepped closer, and Ethan saw exhaustion and loneliness imperial composure usually hid. "For 6 months, I watched you coordinate brilliantly while maintaining distance. During the Battle of Crimson Gates, when you finally worked beside me without that distance, I felt connection I have not experienced in decades, someone who engaged with me as partner rather than as position to be managed. Then you immediately withdrew that connection." Her next words came quietly but carried crushing weight. "You said your presence might break the delicate balance of duty and respect. But Ethan, your absence has been breaking me slowly for months. You are the only person in my command who treats me like someone worthy of working beside, as equal rather than someone to be feared or carefully managed. During those 18 hours, I felt less lonely than I have felt in years. And then you took that away, and the loneliness came back worse because now I know what I am missing." The revelation stunned Ethan. He'd assumed maintaining distance protected professional relationships and spared her from his inappropriate feelings. Instead, his avoidance was experienced as rejection, withdrawal of the one connection where she felt truly seen. "I stayed away because I thought proximity while feeling overwhelmed would compromise my function and burden you with feelings you didn't ask for," Ethan said. "I never considered that what you might want wasn't perfect professional distance, but genuine partnership even when it feels emotionally significant. I'm sorry, Lysandra. I was trying to protect us both and instead hurt you by taking away connection you valued." Lysandra's smile was genuine but carried sadness. "You call me Your Majesty, even after I've told you I value genuine partnership. That is the problem. Even you cannot quite overcome the distance imperial authority creates." She made a request breaking every protocol. "Would you stop avoiding me? Not because duty requires it, not because I command it imperially, but because I am asking personally for the connection we had during crisis. I am tired of being Empress Lysandra the symbol. I would like sometimes to be simply Lysandra with someone who sees me clearly enough to be overwhelmed by my presence. Because that overwhelming feeling is what it feels like to be genuinely affected by someone." What followed over subsequent weeks was careful rebuilding of something more honest. Ethan stopped avoiding her, attended briefings personally, accepted invitations to private reviews that blended professional coordination with genuine conversation. They established routines where imperial authority mattered less than mutual respect, working sessions extending into philosophical discussions, shared meals in her private chambers, moments where she could be Lysandra with someone who valued both aspects of her identity. Standing together in the observation deck, watching fleet formations maneuver beyond, Lysandra spoke quietly. "You asked why I confronted you. It was because your absence hurt more than I could bear without understanding why. When you confessed that being near me overwhelmed you, I realized you were giving me exactly what I needed, recognition that I affect someone genuinely, but taking it away because you misunderstood what I wanted." Ethan's response carried warmth of understanding. "I stayed away because being overwhelmed felt unprofessional. But you taught me that sometimes being overwhelmed is just recognition that someone matters more than professional